Hello and welcome to the Sparkle Heart Holistic Podcast. I'm your hostess, Ryan Rittenhouse, with your resident energy healer and guide, and this is episode 1. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I want to give you a brief introduction of who I am and why I do what I do. Um, so, I am in my mid 40s. I live in San Antonio, Texas, with 3 to 5 cats. Depends on how you count them. Um, and I've spent the last about 18 years working through my own healing journey and um, learning all sorts of things to make myself feel better. And the bonus is I learned them so that I could teach them to you. So, why did I start on this healing path? Excuse me. So, um, when I was 26, my dad died suddenly. He was 2 months-ish and change shy of his 51st birthday, so still 50 years old. Um, and that was a huge crisis in my life. Um, and I really didn't know how to handle that. I was about a month and a half into the day job I had at the time. And I didn't really have any friends. My family lived on the East Coast, so I wasn't home when, I wasn't at my family's home when that happened. And I really kind of didn't know anybody where I was living except for the people I worked with, and I had only known them about 6 weeks. So, um, it was a really pretty dark and heavy time, and I felt like I needed to do something to get myself like out of this pit of despair. Like for my girlies who read Anne of Green Gables, the depths of despair, but like not sarcastically, kind of like for real. Um, so I did a whole bunch of stuff and I've tried many, many things, not just to heal myself from um that incident in particular, but also like as I got more into it, I realized that there was a whole bunch of other stuff I was shoveling under the rug that I just really hadn't looked at. I hadn't paid attention to in my life, and I wanted to change it. So, or at least change how I felt about it. So, that winter, which was my first winter in Texas, which like it's chilly in Texas today. This is January 17th, 2026. It's also my mom's birthday. And it's cold in Texas today. It's winter time in the rest of the US and everyone else is used to it being cold, but it's chilly for us in Texas. Uh I at the time like I had a really strong hobby of knitting, so I went out and I bought yarn because I needed to keep my hands busy. I remember that winter, like I watched a lot of movies, a lot of stuff on streaming, um, and and I knit. Like I bought 3 big old balls of yarn, like fully, from like the yarn shop. Like it was not the bougiest, but like maybe mid to lower tier bougie. And um like this really beautiful like dark purple color because I wanted something to do with my hands. Like I needed something comforting, I needed something I could hold, like I needed something to anchor me. So from around the end of October when I got home or like back to Texas to around Christmas, New Year's time, I was working on this scarf and it got to be like gigantic. And I wore it for like the whole winter. Um, I remember wearing it to my aunt's funeral in January. Like we weren't particularly close, but it like the back-to-back family funeral time was really kind of hard. And I definitely had not healed. I mean, it had only been a couple of months. Like you don't heal from a loss that big usually in just a couple of months. But I had like not even gotten my feet under me yet. Um, before, it was another funeral for my aunt. So she's an aunt by marriage, not one of my parents' siblings. So, um, and I remember wearing the scarf to the funeral. So totally had that. Um, and that kind of kept me grounded as much as possible for a while. Um, and then like that kind of wasn't enough. It was kind of like enough to get through the day, enough to kind of anchor me in the present, but it wasn't really enough to like pull myself out. And I remember walking around the grocery store one time, and I think I was probably talking to my mom because I do that. I am that person who talks on the phone in the grocery store unapologetically because I don't care. I mean, usually I have like earbuds or something in, but I don't care. I'm there for me. Everyone else gets to be an NPC to my main character grocery store energy. Um, and I remember like this is probably a couple years in, but feeling like I had this huge backpack, like a heavy, heavy backpack full of rocks. And like if I could just put it down, I knew I would feel so much better. And after like the first couple of months, the image that I'd have of my own grief, like in that first year, was like that I'd fallen into a huge dark pit, and I was slowly, slowly, slowly climbing myself out. Um, but even when I was outside of this like dark pit of despair, I still felt like I was carrying around this really heavy backpack. And my grievers, you know what that feels like. Your mileage may vary, but you might have had a similar experience to that. Anyone who's dealt with a really traumatic situation, like you feel like you're kind of carrying it with you, and nobody else sees that but you. Um, so I felt like, man, if I could just put this down, I would feel so much better. Um, and around like the springtime, right after in that first year, I think around spring or summertime, one of my colleagues gave me the name of a massage therapist. So I was like, I'll go because my body hurts and I am sad all the time. And maybe this will help. Like I had maybe had one or two massages before in my life, but like it previously I couldn't really afford it. So I was in the role, in kind of like the groove of like a steady paycheck, a decent job, the stability, like the financial and like work stability was really good because I didn't have to try that hard. Like, um, I could show up and do what I could do, um, but it really wasn't that strenuous, like mentally. So, like I had basically standing appointments for massage therapy every payday for I'd say almost like 6 or 7 years. Um, because I really like it really, really helped. And the lady was so compassionate and so kind. And she really understood kind of what I was going through. And sometimes I would be okay, and sometimes I'd just sit on her table and cry. And she was able to hold space for me without judging me, um, without making me feel bad, without, getting her own stuff in the way. Um, so I did that was kind of a primary mode of healing therapy for me for a really long time because my body hurt so bad from all of the grief. And then that really was like all of the grief of other stuff that I hadn't let myself feel. I still had really bad migraines at the time. And like I just really needed someone to hold space for me on a regular basis. And she did that. She also did cranial sacral therapy, which I wasn't sensitive enough at the time. Like my grief kind of overrode a lot of stuff. So I can't really say, like, it didn't hurt me. I don't know how much it helped me. She was very intuitive and she really could read energy very well. So she said it was helping. I believe what she said. I'm a lot more sensitive to it now. So when I've gotten it more recently, I can feel the energy up and down my spine that I couldn't feel 18, 15 years ago, whatever it was. So, and she did Reiki on me also. So, um, she'd get messages from my body and tell me what I needed to do and um what would help me. And so all of that was really like space holding that I really needed. Um, and I had like a kind of tradition for myself of I'd get a massage and then I'd take myself out to dinner, and that was like my payday treat. Um, like I didn't really have a lot of money to spend on a whole bunch of other stuff, but um, it helped so much, especially the first few years that I did it. Um, and she really kind of helped me like open up to the world of like healing is a possibility and people do this stuff like on purpose. Like that people seek out healing and there are ways to do it because I didn't really know anything about that. I just kind of thought you pushed through life and got a job, bought a house, did all the things and retired, and I didn't know people did that kind of work. Um, so it was really a big learning experience for me on a lot of levels that like the hippie witchy kind of energy worker lifestyle was like a thing that people did. And it was legit. Um, because she raised two kids and kept her house going and she was a really compassionate person. Um, so I've done so many other things. I've tried so many different healing modalities. I was trying to write them all out so I wouldn't forget any, and then I kept remembering stuff that I had done that I'd kind of forgotten I'd done because it's been like 18 years of being on this healing ride. And I'm not saying that just because my path has taken me 18 years doesn't mean your path is going to take you 18 years. I think that grief, especially losing a loved one, um, is something that we learn to live with. It's not something to get over. You don't get over the death of a person. Um, Especially like, I mean, somebody that you loved. There's been lots of family members in my family that we didn't really mean anything to each other. Um, they didn't really care very much about me when I was alive. And that's, obviously outside of my immediate family. Um, so, I mean, kind of no love lost there. Uh, just because they're your relatives doesn't mean you have to be sad about it. Even if they're your immediate family, it doesn't mean you have to be sad about it. Like you have your own relationship with the people in your family, and it just because you're related doesn't mean it's a good relationship. And that doesn't mean it's all your fault either. Um, so you can, I mean, all that to say, you can feel however you feel about anyone in your life who passes on. Um, but when we lose someone we really loved and cared about, um, I don't know if you might have seen kind of this like visual of grief as like a container. And when it's really fresh, like the rocks are really big and kind of take up the whole container. And then as you go through your healing, you get a bigger container. Like the rocks can always stay the same shape, same size, but the container gets bigger. So you have more space in your life for other stuff than, you know, like crying all the time. And crying all the time for as long as you need to is a totally valid thing to do. Um, they say that grief comes in waves, and that is I found that analogy to be 100% true for myself. Like at the very beginning, it was just like kind of being sucked into an undertow. And after that, the waves got sometimes fewer, like further apart, but way more intense. And then sometimes, like lately, they've been further apart and less intense. Again, you will have a different experience with that. Um, so that was kind of the catalyst event in my life that made me want to seek out a healing path. And then the more work I did on myself, the more I kept having this feeling that I'm learning this to help teach other people. I'm learning this to help other people when they were stuck like me. And whether that's grief from losing a loved one, whether that's chronic illness, or whatever else, whatever other kind of like trauma that you have in your life, I believe that your body wants you to heal, your spirit wants you to heal, your emotional self wants you to heal. Um, and we do that to the best of our ability. And there's no perfect way to do that. There's also no rule that says that you have to look at stuff if you don't really want to. Healing is a choice. It's not a mandatory thing, but it's really, really helpful to do it. And it's helpful for everyone around you if you do it. Uh, some of the other things that I worked on throughout my healing journey, was this feeling of like emptiness I had in my life that I did the things. I went to school, I went to college, I got a job, and why does it feel so empty? Um, and that took a while to overcome also because I realized kind of quite late in this journey that I had been filled up with so many other expectations and um what's the word? Uh Promises, maybe really expectations, I guess is the word. So many expectations of other people that I should do with my life, and I didn't know what I wanted to really do with my time. Um, I had, in those years following when my dad died, I had a lot of body pain. I remember sitting for entire weekends with heating pads on my shoulders, on my back. I had a lot of migraines. My migraines, I got officially diagnosed uh in my early 20s. And I mean, I think I had them in high school though. Because I kind of had the same pain. It just like the first real debilitating attack I had was in my early 20s. Um, and I got a fibromyalgia diagnosis. Um, for my job, they were like, "Hey, do you want to go to this country that nobody wants to go to and that you don't want to go to?" And I was like, "No." And they were like, "Well, too bad. Tag, you're it. Now go to the doctor and have them assess you to see if you're fit enough to go." So I did that, and I told the doctor all of the things like anxiety, depression, body pain, migraines that I'd had for 20 years, since my early 20s, my mid-teens, early 20s or whatever. And he was like, "Girl, you are not well." you need to go to your GP and get like, tell them all of this stuff. He's like, I'm not trying to diagnose you because that's not really my job. You are not fit enough to travel overseas to this particular area. So I'm gonna deny that. And I mean, secretly, I was pretty happy because I didn't want to go anyway. Um, but I went to, my GP and he was like, yeah, this is an actual thing. Like, you are really not well. Um, and like, no one had really ever put those pieces together before. I thought they were all kind of separate things, like that I didn't sleep well and that I was in pain a lot and I had migraines and I was really kind of depressed. But I mean, like my dad had died. That made me sad. Um, and sometimes I had like not full-blown panic attacks, but like depression and anxiety kind of go hand in hand, and work gives me a lot of anxiety. Like my day job um was very anxiety producing. Uh so those are some of the things that led to, girl, you are not well and you need to get your stuff together. And then so my GP was like, well, we can treat fibro with like diet pills because you're fatty. And I mean, he didn't exactly say it like that. He was much kinder in his choice of words, but that was really kind of the gist of it. Um, and like a low dose, like a low grade opiate. And I was like, that's not really what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. Because there was really nothing else that he could do. He's like, we don't really understand why this is, why it happens. Um, we don't know how to treat it. Take this and quit complaining. So, um, you can see Moxie Cat behind me, slowly destroying my house. If you're watching this on the video version. Um, so that's when I got really serious and really kind of made an effort to do something different. But before that, like I've tried so many different things. Some of them I've already mentioned. I did running for a little while. I did a couple of half marathons, a couple of 5Ks, like you couldn't tell by looking at me now because it's been like more than 10 years. But that helped with like the processing. My dad was a marathon runner. So I wanted to kind of do his hobby to see if I could like dredge up some emotion from that. And there were many, many times where I would cry and I would run and I would walk, and then I kind of have to choose between moving forward and crying because I didn't have enough oxygen to do both of those things. Um, and all of the, like every single thing I've done helped me in some way. All of the practitioners I've met, all of the people that I've been in classes and cohorts and stuff with have helped me. So, you don't have to have as varied and wide of a journey as I've had. Um, and like all of these things helped on some level. They were all beneficial. They all kind of peeled back a layer of like pain for me to deal with. So they were really helpful. Were they hard? Yeah, sometimes. Like training for a half marathon isn't fun. At least it wasn't fun for me. I've never been an athletic person. So doing that was not like fun, but it was cathartic. And I can say I've done it. So, I learned, excuse me, I learned tarot as part of my witchcraft journey, which I did try to go back to church, and that didn't work for me. I'm not knocking church or religion or whatever. If it works for you, I'm so happy for you. Um, I tried it after almost 16, 18 years of not going. And it didn't help me. Like I felt alone. I'd sit there and I couldn't sing the songs because I'd cry so much. Like this is one of the first things I had that I did after my dad died was go back to church. And I really tried, and it really didn't help at all. It made me actually feel more alone and disconnected. The pastor was really nice. I think she was a little bit kind of concerned I would auto delete myself. Um, so she was very kind. But ultimately, like it wasn't really for me. And if it really is for you, I'm happy for you. Um, which led me to, but that kind of experience, like I needed some kind of connection with divine, universe, God, goddess, holy power, whatever you want to call it. Because I needed to feel significantly less alone, and I needed to feel like something up there cared and was kind of watching out. Um, so I started doing witchcraft, and I went to witch school for a year. And that got me a community. It helped me deepen my practice that I had already kind of started on my own. I did that for like a year, um, as kind of a trial run before I was like, okay, I am all into this. And that taught me about seasonal living and moon phases and the solar festivals and all of that kind of stuff, which helped, again, kind of helped ground me a little bit more in reality, but also gave me something to focus on. Um, and that there are seasons to building, there are seasons to releasing. We get a chance to do that every month, and then we can do that as we go through the year. So, I will talk about that kind of stuff a little bit more in depth. We might do some moon rituals or something on this channel because for me, that learning how to live in a natural, cyclical way really helped give my life a rhythm that I really, really needed to kind of, and that's kind of lasted throughout my healing journey. So, it was helpful for me. I hope it ends up being helpful for you. Um, and there are so many other practices, like I'm not going to go into all of them today, but um, the last thing I really put a lot of effort into was working with um, a mentor who did chakra balancing and chakra work and energy, like kind of really powerful energy healing. And she took me into meditations where we would clear stuff out, like clear energy out of my body, clear out stories. I had a lot of journaling homework to do. Um, I had a lot of physical practices to do. I had to do a juice cleanse. I had to do ancestor baths. I had to do all sorts of different things with her. But that really gave me the breakthrough I needed to clear my fibromyalgia from my body and to clear migraines from my body. So that was on a physical level the most impactful thing I've done, even though I also did like massage therapy and yoga and stuff like that. Like those things helped, but getting the energetic root out of my body was really the thing that made the most difference. And that's not getting the grief out of my body, really. Like there was some of that, but spirit always keeps telling me in like through many different meditations and things that I've done in different contexts that grief and love is the same thing. You really can't just pull all of the grief out of your body. Like you can pull out the stuff that's actively hurting you. Um, and like the part of you that wants to hold on, um, you can release that. But grief and love are the same. It's the same sides to the it's different sides to the same coin. Uh, I've seen it also as like a picture of waves, and like depending on how the sunlight shows, like it's pink or it's really deep dark blue. So, it's the same, but it's the same water. The same water is grief and love. You might have a different visual or a different take on that, but that's what I have seen specifically for myself. So, um, this is just kind of an intro to where I'm at and some of the things that I have healed and gone through, and some of the modalities that I've tried. I learned how to be a practitioner for some of these modalities. I liked them so much. So, in my work with clients, even if we're not doing massage therapy or we're not specifically doing Reiki, um, or yoga, like all of that body of knowledge helps me help them, like helps me explain the mind, body, heart, spirit connection. Um, and we go in and we clear stuff out through meditations, through journaling, through a lot of it's a similar style to like one of my most impactful mentors, but as she reads energy differently than I do. And some of the journeys that I went on, like they're different than the journeys I take my clients on. But um, she really taught me how to do that for myself, and then how to take people on their own journeys. Like spirit just tells me, hey, this is what we're going, this is where we're going, this is what they need to do. And so we go into meditation, we find your guides that are helpful. I have a lot of pop culture references in my work with my clients, like music, song lyrics, video games, movies. Spirit loves to show me that stuff. I don't know, maybe it's my neurospicy ADHD adjacent brain that is always playing some kind of soundtrack. Um, but there's one client in particular that, like, when we're supposed to go on to into the kind of the map that we're working on of her psyche, like sometimes I'll hear like the Mario music, because to me it kind of looks like a map of, like, here's all the little kind of like Super Mario World, where you have like the island or the location, the world, whatever that he was in, and like there's like little nodes and little pathways, and you go to the node and you beat that level, and then you can unlock more of the island. So, um, if you're down with stuff like that, that is kind of how I work with clients. So, and I hope to have guest speakers on, interview people, talk to some of the people that I know and that I've worked with. Um, so if you've got any ideas or anything that you really want to hear, you can email me at hello@sparkleheartholistic.com. You can check out my website, sparkleheartholistic.com, and let me know how I can help. I do offer currently a free 30-minute session, and I am currently still taking clients for longer one-on-one coaching packages. So if that's something that interests you, check it out, and I hope to see you again in the next episode.